Hello everyone, welcome to my talk Debugging Data Corruption in PostgreSQL, a systematic approach. A little bit about me. Okay. So myself Palak Chaturvedi, I am a software engineer at Microsoft. I am a member of Azure Database for PostgreSQL team in Microsoft. I have experience in onboarding new extensions to FSPG, also handling code dumps as well as corruption issues in FSPG. I have contributed to PG community at some point of time, so I am here. Uh, this is a beginner friendly talk and this is the agenda that we'll be following today. First we'll look what is data corruption, then what are the causes, and we'll analyze two corruption cases that I have observed in my during my FT thing, and we'll look at the general approaches to handle corruption cases. So let's start. So whenever we want to debug data corruption, first we should know what is data corruption. Without knowing what is data corruption, we cannot debug it. So data corruption is like amnesia for data. Like Postgres remembers something, but suddenly it misinterprets the data or forgets some part of it. Imagine you have a spreadsheet with a whole lot of numbers, and suddenly instead of those numbers you have gibberish in terms of random letters or everything, so that data is no use to you. Similarly, in PostgreSQL, we can say that these are the unintended changes in the database, such as the index files might be corrupted, the heap table might be corrupted, or the PG wall data can be corrupted. So what are the causes of corruption? Like there can be a lots of causes, but I have narrowed down it to three. First one is bad hardware, like you might have a bad disk, a bad memory, or suddenly your VM or wherever you are running your Postgres server stops running due to power backup or something. Second is bad software, like PostgreSQL might have some bug. During some customer incident, we found that multiple hard links were pointing to a same file, so that caused corruption. So we brought it up with the community and got it fixed in our PG 16, and then it was backported to previous version as well. There might be bug with OS or the backup tool. The backup tool might not be correctly backing up your data, or there might be an antivirus software that is deleting some important data. Third is user error. User error means any error that, like, you see a lots of file and you think that these are not important, so you just delete it. That can cause corruption. And there is one function called PG reset wall. Sometimes if we see corruption, we randomly run PG reset wall. That can also cause corruption. So now we'll look where this corruption can occur. So first we'll look at the logical layout of the database cluster. As you can see, there is a database cluster in PG. PG runs on a single database cluster. It has multiple databases in it. As you can see, database 1, database 2, and database n. And when we run the ls/lh query for our database, we get it as template 0, template 1, Postgres, and whatever you create with createdb command. Inside each inside each database, we have tables, indexes, views, functions, and sequence. And all these databases and tables are identified with their respective OIDs. So now we'll look at the physical layout. Whenever you run a editdb command on your base directory, these are the following files that are created, such as postgresql.conf, pghba.conf, base folder, global folder, and pgwall folder. As you all know, postgres.conf contains the configuration files. PGHBA contains authorization things, and base folder contains all the important data related to your tables and indexes. As in this figure, you see that template 0 are there, template 1 Postgres and sample DB are there. Inside these folders, you have the respective tables, indexes, and free space map and visibility map. The free space maps are the files that tells you how much free space each page has. Similarly, the visibility map tells us which pages are visible to the current transaction. And then we have the global folder, which contains pg control, pg file node map dot map, and pg internal dot init. This is the lslh of base folder, so you can see here. Now we'll look at the internal layout of the heap table file. Whenever we insert data, it gets inserted into pages that are also called blocks, which are 8 KB of size. Whenever you add more data, each one extra page gets added to the table file until it reaches 1 GB. As soon as it reaches 1 GB, there is a 0.1 file that gets added, and similarly 0.2, 0.3 files. Inside each block looks like we have a PG header in it that contains PD LSN, PD checksum, and PD flags, line pointers, free spaces, and tuples. Free space are the places where new tuples or line pointers can be added. Page header is a 24-bit metadata that contains a really more than important information about your pages. So as you can see, there are multiple places where corruption can occur. Any of these files, any of these pages can be corrupted. So like for corruption, it has so many options. Now we'll analyze few corruption cases that I have worked with. First one is could not read block. So this occurs when PostgreSQL tries to read a particular index or a particular block from a table or index, often during query execution or vacuuming. What are the causes? The causes could be disk corruption, file system issues, or accidental tampering. Now I have tried to reproduce the corrupted index error. So I have used the dd command to insert some random data in place of our checksum. So as you can see, the dd command is there, and I have inputted a base file that is related to index. So when I now run select count star for that table, I see that the invalid page in block 0 of relation this. And when I check what file is that using the PG class table, we get that the table corrupted is PG bench branches primary the index file. So this is a easy recovery. You can just reindex your index, and then everything would be magically corrected. So this is an easy corruption that we can see. The second corruption is case of missing blocks in heap files. That is a really tough one to recover from. So for the first case, I have echoed the corrupted data in place of checksums in our file. So when I enter that, we get a warning such as page verification failed and calculated checksum is not what it wanted to be. So, and we get an error invalid page in block 0 of relation something. So these errors do not cause our Postgres to crash. So this won't stop your production, but it can cause the wrong data things, and you cannot access your important tables. Second method is I have tried truncating the heap table using truncate command, and similar error that I got was could not read block 1 of base this. And other method that I tried was while a long running transaction was going on, I tried to corrupt the number of blocks, and then the wrong file size was present, and we got the similar error. But recovering from this error is very hard, because you need to have a copy of that data somewhere to recover from that. Otherwise, you will need to look at the individual files and get what is corrupted, and then try to recover whatever you can from those files. Second case is could not locate valid checkpoint record. This error happens when the server is unable to read the checkpoint record during recovery or upon startup. The causes are hardware issues or software bugs. So this is the case of missing walls. What happens is you have multiple files in PG wall folder, and due to some reason, due to backup failure or due to some reason, those files are not completely brought back to your primary or something, and that causes the error like could not locate valid checkpoint. To verify it, you can go to the PG control data file. It contains the latest information about redo wall file location or the checkpoint location, and you can run a PG wall dump query on that file starting from the last checkpoint. If you are able to read the file, then it means the wall file might not be corrupted and there is some problem with PG control data. But if you are unable to read the wall file, then it is possible that the wall file is corrupted and you will need to get a copy of that wall file from your backup. There were some cases where I tried to recreate it by as you know, we have multiple wall files named as 0001, 002 and 003. So I tried to remove 002 and then similar error was seen. So you need a sequence of wall files to make Postgres work correctly. Now we'll look at the general approach to handling corruption cases. We have three methods. First one is best practices and how to detect corruption, also corruption recovery. So in best practices, I have covered configurations, management, and backup restores. In configuration, you should keep in mind to not set fsync as off. What fsync does is whenever there are some data in your disk OS cache, it makes sure that it is returned to the disk properly. If it is set as off, it might happen that the power might fail and the data is not correctly returned to your disk, and that can harm your durability. And second is do not set full page writes as off. If you set full page writes as off, it does not make sure that complete page is written to your wall file, and that might cause cases of torn data pages. Third is run with checksums enabled. As you saw earlier in the internal data layout, we had a PD checksum bit in our page header. That is a very important thing. What it does, it checks your page that it is correct or not. Whenever you read from that page, it recalculates the checksum and checks if it does not matches with the current value. It shows that the page might be corrupted. So it's a very important functionality that we have. You can only enable it while you start your program, such as while doing initdb, you can enable that checksum, or you can stop and then use the pg checksum extension to run to check particular file or database directory. My advice is to run with checksums enabled because it does not cost that much overhead, and it is good for production environment that you know that silent data corruption does not occur for your database. Now we'll look at the management practices that we have. First one, do not manually modify the data files in any way. Do not go inside the files and randomly tweak the bits of it, because it can cause corruption and you might not be able to recover from it. Second is do not remove the postmaster.pid. Sometimes we see errors that postmaster PID is still there, so it does not start a new Postgres. So just don't go and remove the postmaster.pid. Third is do not remove wall files manually. during customer issue, we found we were using a operational script that was manually removing some wall files so that the storage can decrease some bit. But eventually we found out that it was causing corruption. Even though our operational script checked all the checkpoints and everything, but still we were causing some corruption. So it's better not to remove wall files manually anyhow. Fourth is keep monitoring your PostgreSQL and OS logs for storage related errors, because that can stop the wall logging and something. Now we'll look at the backup and restore. I have said backup a lot of times now, because when corruption occurs, when I saw corruption, the only thing I tell to customer, if you have backup, it's good, then we can recover fastly from it. If you have done pitter, then it's better. Because once corruption occurs, it's very hard to, like, we can debug it, what is corrupted, but how do we know what was the correct data? So it's better to take your backups regularly. If you can take up a backup, all of your data is still readable. Also, if you have corruption later, you have the option of restoring from the backup. Make sure you can restore from your backup. Not every backup is a good backup, so make sure those are correct. Now we'll look how to detect corruption. So just look at the logs. You will see some error messages or panic messages, or some error codes indicating data corruption. Also, we have PGAM check functionality, which checks the logical integrity of heap files and tables and indexes. Run PGAM check weekly or occasionally whenever you can, so that you can check the files that you have are not corrupted. Enable checksums in your database, so that if you find corruption, you can debug. If early corruption can be detected, and you do not lose a lot of data. Now we'll look at some corruption recovery techniques. We have divided it into three. First one is general approaches. If there is an issue in standby, just rebuild the standby. If there is an issue in master, just do a failover or restore from backup. Check if data can be reconstructed. Last resort is to recover from the corrupted database if nothing is feasible. When you are recovering from the corrupted database, make sure that before attempting to recovery, take a backup of whatever corruption you have, so that if you try to recover it, you don't go some more bad place than you are currently are. Now also use pgdump restore to back up the database contents that you right now have into a new database. Also avoid quick fixes if you can. If you get some errors while running pgdump, try to drop the problematic objects. If the problem is with index, use reindex. Also, if you can try to dump selectively. What if nothing works for those wall level corruption? So what you can do is, the last resort is that we have is PG reset wall. PG reset wall can help you start a corrupted database, because it would reset the walls, and you can start from there. But what does it removes the committed data, so there might be a big possibility that you can lose important data. So always think before running the PG reset wall. That's all I have for today. Thank you all. Any questions?